when we talk about a strategy for first thing is we'll talk about sources of reading. You can have any source of reading, like be it any source, whatever the source you follow, that source should have, to some extent, whatever the terms which are known, for that terms you should have precise definitions. You can prepare yourself precise definitions. You can compile 100, 200 such terms. Like say ki last year first question is itself about 5 such terms that we have to write. Then the third question is also about the same, more or less same terms you can find. In 2019 also or 18 first question was to write 3 universal values of civil service. If you analyze the paper since 2013 to 2021, you can yourself get 100, at least 50 to 100 such terms in UPSC paper itself. And they are going to be repeated. Ethics paper is recurring in nature. The only thing is that you have to notice it. So whether you are able to prepare them, this time they have told that write 5 such values yourself. In past they may have themselves written 5 values. It's just recurring in nature, that is what we have to identify. In fact, if you see the papers of, let's say, that 13 to 2021, it is a kind of full circle they have made in terms of the way they ask, the pattern. It shows that the paper is not having huge variation the way other papers can be so challenging. If you understand it, any source you follow, so you try to take out of that the precise definitions, and you should have, let's say, that ability to either write exactly that, or you should have ability to write yourself in that fashion. Then anything that there are few such philosophies and theories, those philosophies and theories you should be very clear on that. Be it, let's say, deontology, be it teleology, or be it what we say virtue ethics, be it say contractarians, or we say, you can say theory of justice, or some Indian philosophies. Again, they are not n numbers. They are very limited philosophies. Are we very clear on them so that we are able to relate this or that way? That should be the approach. Then good examples, let's say, you can have 2 ways to have good examples. One, any source can give you some examples, and on that basis you can prepare your own examples yourself. The quality of examples will also determine quality of your answers, but examples are not only answers. That also we should know. Then let's say this nature of questions, if you say. So let's take that. Although it is not very, let's say, that important, but if you want to classify, let's say, nature of questions, so either, let's say, the topic, syllabus topics based question, it can be, let's topic is related to corporate governance. Already they have asked corporate governance. It can be probity, So there are several topics, and those from topics they ask questions. Now the topics, again you can list number of topics. So as far as, let's say there are 6 topics, and I guess 6 topics can have at least average, let's say 7 topics. Average you can have over this 42 to 45 topics, let's say. So total number of topics, subtopics, you can have not more than 40. So have you analyzed that 40 topics, that which topics they have asked, which topics they are going to ask, and which topics they repeat questions generally? So that can help you to focus more on the expected topics. Which topics are likely to be asked, and in out of 13 questions you can at least predict 4 or 5 questions. This, like, let me tell that the topics which they have been asking again and again is called attitude, emotional intelligence. Regularly they ask question on emotional intelligence and attitude. This, then repeatedly they will ask question related to civil service, values, this, and some topics which they have not asked. So what are topics they have not asked and they can ask? Right. So let's start with first topic. In first topic, what they can ask? Let me go on different table. First topic is basically we have ethics and human interface. Okay. So ethics and human interface, from this topic, what they have not asked that they can ask, means not asked so far. Descriptive ethics and prescriptive ethics. We expect a question on this. Then ethics and public and private relation. Next, human values. Education as basis for value inculcation. Then we have attitude. In attitude, we expect a question on political attitude. Aptitude. Aptitude itself. It has, so far they have not asked aptitude. In fact, the record says that so far whatever they have not asked, they ask necessarily at least one in that every year. This. So we have been expecting even both, let's say, relation between attitude and aptitude. Yes. Then emotional intelligence. They have asked everything. Nothing is left about this, but still we'll talk. Although they have asked this application, its application in governance. We expect also emotional intelligence and max verbal. It is a matter of time when they will ask. This. Then left next is called values in civil services. In this if you take, let's say, since emotional intelligence asks, attitude asks, so aptitude is left. If you take in this topic, so there are so many topics in that. In that so many topics, you should know that most of the time they have asked questions related to crisis of conscience. Ethical dilemma. The ethical dilemma, last year also they asked. Crisis of conscience or conscience, that they have asked. Law, rules, regulation as basis for ethical guidance, that has been asked. Corporate governance has been asked. So, already let's say that they have asked topics, including ethics in international relations, that has also been asked. The only topic which is left, if you say that not ask at all, it is called ethical issues in international funding. Ethical issues in international funding. That we expect a question on that. In fact, your answer should be ready on that. The topics which they have not asked, you should not prepare topics. Rather prepare one model answer. So that if question is asked, your model answer is ready on that. That way we can target, it is not very challenging. Then if you take, let's probity in governance. So questions which they have not asked on the topics related, public service value. Quality of service delivery. Other topics they have asked. Now from this section, if any topic which they have asked again and again, that is called RTI. 5 times. Right. Including 2 times case studies on RTI and 3 times theory questions on RTI. So that is what we can talk about. Let's say syllabus if you talk. So expected question and you should be ready on this. Then we were talking, let's say that questions should be answered the way questions are. We'll talk this statement or philosophy based question. Terms again you can answer the way either the terms at least one example we'll take and we'll talk on this aspect. But let's take that a statement. Any statement is given, this you can say that. Like once they ask and Since every year they ask at least 2 statements related to 2, 3, they can ask like that. Now, when you get statement like questions, in a statement like question, you should have two-fold strategy, 2 different strategies. Like any statement, the statement, it can be related to philosophers. It can be related to philosophers, or it can be related to others. Right. From philosophers, it came in mind, let's say, philosophers wala also will tell. So, if you talk from philosophers, leaders, so far question they have not asked on Hobbes, Locke, social contract. We expect a question on that. Then name has not been asked. Name as Bentham, Mill, Proprietarian. This Amartya Sen, capability approach. In terms of leaders, if you say of philosophers also, so we need, let's say, Nelson Mandela, we expect Martin Luther King, In India, we expect Subhash Chandra Bose. Last year, we also asked this question, Guru Nanak. The rest UPSC has its choice. They can ask any sundry name, then it becomes relevant. This is all. But these are expected questions today or tomorrow because they are part of the philosophy. When any Tom, Dick, Harry name is asked, sorry to say that. So Martin Luther King is a big name. Nelson Mandela is also a big name, and they have given some good ethical statements. And social contract theory is still left, so today or tomorrow we expect a question. Similarly, Amartya Sen capability approach, it also remains important. So we expect question targeting some unthinkable thinkers which UPSC can ask. Let's come. So we were saying that statements, so statements can be 2 types, let's say philosophers and others. Philosophers means the core philosophy, that is called normative theory. Normative ethics theories, which can be related to Greek, that deontology, teleology, contractarians. It is plus. So when any, let's say, question is asked about them, any statement as they have been asking, so you should first write about them, at least one paragraph, because you know about them or they have given particular philosophy. So if, let's say, it is a statement of Socrates, so you should write a bit of Socrates, belonging to Greek philosophy, known for founding field of ethics, founder of ethics on the basis of critical thinking. So a bit of, let's say, paragraph you can write, then you can go on writing about the statement. When you write about the statement, so you can even write the meaning of a statement if you are clear on that. The given statement has this meaning, this way, so that you remain to the point. And you explain the terms of the, let's say, statement, like unexamined life. And that should be written in a very basic language, not in a very high standard, let's say that big languages, that big sentences that you use. Because then you will not be able to prove that statement. You will be writing, that is how largely people will do like this. So, this is hitting bullseye, hitting bull, not eyes. This. So, that is what it is. So, whether you are exactly writing like unexamined life, right? So, that way, let's say that. So, you have to understand any given statement, let's say that simple statement that we have taken, an unexamined life is not worth living, it was asked once. Simply you have to write unexamined. First, any ethics belongs with individual. You should start individual rather than this is how becoming macro, talking society, talking blah blah things. Ethics starts with individual. Because ethics is about human conduct. Then it goes to society, it goes to world. That's a different thing. But ethics starts with individual. Because it deals with human conduct. When it deals with human conduct, you should write about human conduct, that any human who has grown, has been growing, so it is expected that whatever he sees around him and he finds that they are evil, they are bad, they are not good, as per that person rational and critical thinking. So the person should question it. The person should reject it. This. And then you can give examples. If a person has faced any superstition, person should question. If a person has faced in family somebody is taking dowry, the person should question. Or if someone is, let's say, that doing wrong things, the person should stop that person doing wrong thing. So that is how further you should explore your answer. And then you can go on, this is how people have tried to examine their surroundings, and that is how this world itself has evolved from a food gathering society to today fourth industrial revolution, where things have been questioned by people. Even the philosophers also question whether this earth is made up of what, how the earth came into existence, sun is made up of what, water, etc., as matter. This is how people have questioned. So that way you can go to what's that. So your answer should always start with basic aspect. This is what you should write. Similarly, when we say that Mahatma Gandhi, so yes, Mahatma Gandhi you know. So before writing about the statement, you should write a bit of Mahatma Gandhi, at least a paragraph, a small paragraph on Mahatma Gandhi, that Mahatma Gandhi, so he is considered as propagator of values like satyagraha, so truth, adherence, that kind of thing, non-violence. So he is recognized as a global leader, so that way we can say that. Not write history part, the history aspect, rather the philosophy part. So he is also, although he is not known for giving a particular philosophy, but he has given a set of principles which are relevant and followed by people across society. This, and one such is, let's say, talking about human, that his focus remains more on inside of human rather than outside of human. That is building a human personality by self-exploration, looking inside and trying to know, trying to understand, trying to build one's inner personality. And once a person is able to build inner personality, so that person is considered strong. And then you can move on to your further, let's say this, forgiveness. The weak forgive, and here weak and strong you have to write. So which person can be considered weak, which person can be considered strong? That you have to define. The weak person can be in terms of the person who has not emotionally grown up, a person wisdom has not grown up, person moral standard has not grown up, the person who is not morally grown up. So that person can be considered weak because that person will have knee-jerk reactions, or the person would be more reactive or egocentric. Hence, those people who are reactive, not morally grown up, for them revenge becomes more important than forgiveness. But those people who are grown up, they know about human behavior. And they have overcome on their ego. If someone has hurt someone's ego, if a person is grown up and he has overcome on his ego, he may not be hurt by that person. He can even have the ability to forgive that person. So philosophically you have to explain the terms given in the statement. Since these things are predictable, there would be necessarily two questions based on a statement, whether you are prepared on that question. So this, and that is how, let's say, that you should plan in terms of this. And as far as, let's say, that civil service values are concerned, that they ask a question. So every year they have been asking question, let's say, that on this aspect. Anyhow, what I was trying to say that these are the number of philosophies I ended up writing also. So what we were saying, so there we don't have more than that philosophies so far. And so far beyond that questions have not been asked. Rather it is now recurring, repeating. Yes, beyond that, so it can be Indian aspect now. So once they ask Tirkul, they ask, right, they can ask any other literature now. They can ask Vedic literature, Upanishadic literature, Kabir, Guru Nanak. Means it depends how UPSC ask, let's say. That's why we last year also asked Guru Nanak. Anyhow, they went on asking again Vivekananda. So in past it was also predicted that they would ask Vivekananda and Buddha. And the same year in 2020 they asked both. Vivekananda and Buddha together. So now left is called Jainism, but Jainism is not, as an individual personality, it is not as popular as, let's say, Gautam Buddha or, let's say, Vivekananda. This. So that could be the, let's say, reasons. If they go beyond that, like say one South Indian literature they ask in terms of values, it means they can ask also other North Indian to balance it. Right? So basically, let's say that they can ask some other literature. It gives message that they can ask other such texts, let's say. Even Gita can be referred, Mahabharata can be referred, Vedas can be referred, and a statement out of that they can ask this. So these things can be the core philosophy which you should prepare on them, their basic concept, right, explanation, any such example, relevance, relating it. You should know the weakness also, what are some of their weaknesses. Like if you know this, you should know also their weakness. And application, you should know also weakness and application. You should know also weakness and application, and also comparison, because once they have asked comparing both also. Right. Once they have asked question comparing both means and ends. Right. It means a competitive question can also be asked. This remains pure, untouched by UPSC. So this is how they can ask question on that. So this we can consider as some of the theoretical aspect. Yes, the statements which are asked by any other leader. A leader does not give philosophy. You know that. Leader is known for, let's say, Nelson Mandela. So he is a leader. He has not given a philosophy. So on Nelson Mandela, you know something, but that is historical. He fought against apartheid, etc. But that may not be appropriate to write when a statement he gives. Or Warren Buffett, once a statement they ask. So what you know except he is in, let's say that he has contributed also in Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Or he is a successful businessman. If our Abraham Lincoln statement was asked, Abraham Lincoln, you know that he struggled and he became president of US. But as far as philosophy is concerned, you do not know much. Or they have not propounded a philosophy. That's why in those statements, it's let's say that good that you should directly write the statement. Right. Directly answer the statement they are asking. Right. Like say in Warren Buffett statement, there were 3 terms. So when you find a statement where terms they use, it's better to explain the terms in brief and then you write. Means to be to the point. Rather than addressing holistically, because then we find that people are not able to answer at all the given terms when they try to answer holistically. In general, we can say that if any question they have given 2 to 3 terms, then you try to explain in briefest possible manner the 3 terms and then you write your answer holistically. Don't try to stretch your answer, entire answer in 3 terms. If first you write 1 term in 1/3, second term in next third, and let's say that way it will become watertight answer and you will not be able to address holistically. No question is trying to seek from your side only this compartment type of answer. It's better that you write first term, a brief explanation, second and third, and then write holistically. When you write holistically, you get more leverage because then you can analyze and write it. So that approach should be followed, because when we ask some terms, people they try to stretch their entire answer by dividing it into 3 parts. And if statements there are more than 3 terms, 4 and 5 terms, so don't explain them. And if you want to explain them, explain in 1 and 2 lines. That's why you should know precise meanings. Because if 5 terms are given in the question, then you know that what will happen. Writing in 150 words, you will just merely explain the terms. But if you see it since 2013 to present, they have never asked in that way. Even when Mahatma Gandhi, let's say they asked 7 sins, even in that case also they are not asking to write those sins. They are asking you what do you understand by that. Even if a person, so there are 2 ways to write answer. One, you can stretch entire answer into those 7 points. Right. So you will not be able to write beyond that. But that is not a demand of question. It is saying what do you understand by that. So holistically you have to write some essence on that. So that is how you should learn when you get this means statement type of things. So anyhow, let's take next aspect. So if you take this nature of questions since 2013 to 2021, in theory section, so already we have partially explained it. Simply let's say that they have tried to ask questions the way we divided into 3 parts. Plus they have tried to cover all the syllabus topics. This. At the same time, let's say that they have tried to ask some questions. Some questions which can be, let's say that out of box, not necessarily related to the syllabus which is mentioned. Right. Means most of the questions are linked to the syllabus topics. This, which you study syllabus, you are able to answer. Like if they ask probity in governance, you have studied. If they ask emotional intelligence, you have studied this. But if they ask some question like, how do you mean by happiness? Okay. What do you understand by happiness? Then it is basically testing your understanding. This. So that way we can consider. It is testing your ethical understanding basically. Last year, which 2020, they asked a question related to gross national power. Gross national power. It was also innovative question. Innovative question means that they have tried to link international relation with ethics, not the way ethics in international relation is. Rather linking, let's say, international relation with, let's say, a particular country, and then people, how people, let's say, basically people, how ethics will help improve people character, human resource, and then how in turn it is linking to gross national power. Right. So out of 13 questions, you can get at least 1 or 2 questions which are a bit innovative questions. Right. And those innovative questions are basically they demanding your overall ethical understanding. And if you have better ethical understanding, you can answer those questions. Right. In fact, let me tell that they are basically testing your how good ethics you understand such questions. Because when they ask relationship between morality and ethics, you know it, you can write it. So this can be one aspect, let's say. In syllabus part itself, there is another category of question. That question is basically that they try to they relate with ethics and ethics with other things. This is also one such trend. Like ethics has been related to morality. Ethics has been related to politics, and ethics has been related to competence. Means 3 times they have asked this question, like once ethics and politics, ethics and morality, and ethics and competence, and 4th is ethics and emotional intelligence. So we expect a question on this side, from this side if you see. Ethics, so we expect ethics and social norm. And ethics and religion. Yes. Next, as we were saying that theory, civil services. Civil services. So civil services related questions have been very prominent in paper, and they have asked either related to whatever let's say you have civil values in civil services, property and governance related topic, or they have been asking, let's say either you write 3 such values, you write 4 such values, 5 such values, or you can see that if you take in first year itself, they wrote themselves 3 such values and they ask you to write 5 values. 2 more values. So civil services related questions you should prepare. There are several other such perspectives related to civil services. The 2 important areas which we have been inspecting is called civil services activism and civil service role and social media. Civil service role and social media. Why? Because we had also been inspecting ethics and technology. And you know, last year they asked this question. Ethics and technology, artificial intelligence, let's say that. So some of the questions, if you talk on that expected pattern, so they have been asking those questions. And this plus, let's say that applied question. Some questions they ask on the basis of societal developments, development in society, things happening, and indirectly they try to depict that. Right? Like say once they have asked in 2014 related to attitude. In fact, last year also they have asked attitude, but last year question of attitude is simpler than 2014. 2014 question is 4-line question. 4 to 5-line question. What do you mean by conflicting attitude? Why people have conflicting attitude? What are those conflicting attitude? This is what we'll find. And once they ask question related to Swachh Bharat mission and social influence. It means that we expect another question related to any other such a scheme linking with this paper. Because repeating in nature, since questions are repeating in nature, so if we expect, we had asked in past related to Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao scheme. So schemes and programs also, let's say there can be possibility of linking, and that way let's say that we can consider. So this we can say on ethics side. If you take case study side, so if you take 2013 and 2020, lots of similarity in instructions. In fact, last year when we were in case study, I was teaching, so I was reluctant to tell कि statement type questions they will not ask, means options they will not ask now. And I found that there are 3 questions on options. Now, what are the options available? And critically evaluate the options. And which option is better? Instead of writing one statement, they have asked 3 such options they have made. It is returning of 2013. Right. Not exactly in the same fashion, because 2013 instruction was that what are the options available with you, right? Evaluate them and select the best option, giving reasons. That is the statement. But if you see last year paper is saying that this, what are the options available with you? That is A. B, critically examine options that you write, and C, which option is better and why. This. So, case studies, if you talk as far as instructions are concerned, so now I will tell you that somehow they have exhausted all innovative options. Whatever the innovative options they can ask in last that 2013 to 21, so somehow they are running short of that innovation. Or every time they cannot innovate. This can be one aspect. So what you should do is that you should yourself prepare all that 2013 to 2021 different instructions. What are the different instructions that they ask? Right. Why? Because we will tell you that case studies quality of answer is decided first by whether you adhere to the instructions or not. And we are very poor at that. We have our experience, we can tell you. That people even today, after 8 years of ethics paper, still they do not know 2013 statement meaning when they write their case studies. Right. This, like I will tell the options, what are the options available, critically examine or evaluate. They don't examine, evaluate, they start writing course of action. Instead of writing options, they write course of action. There are some people that they write, so that's why we'll say that you should try to know yourself the instructions, the different instructions first. That way, let's say pattern seems to be returning back. Now, second is that if you take nature, case study instructions, if you talk, then next is called subject matter. And third is called length. Length of case studies. See, if you take subject matter of case studies, so now you should yourself also, if you analyze, the subject matters are not also very wide ranging. Now they are repeating in nature. One major subject matter is civil service. This civil service related. It can be related to individual civil servant conduct. It can be related to mining. It can be related to urban area. It can be related to environment and development conflict. That way you can say. If you take one major area of case study that they make is called civil service related case study. In fact, in 2019, 3 case studies were related to only civil servants. The case studies have also become applied in nature first. Then another set of case study you will find related to environment, ecology, disaster. That kind of case studies you will find that. The third category of case study you will find related to social justice. Social justice, civil society, women, that kind of case studies you will find that. So you should also try to identify the different nature of subject matters related to case studies, because it is important to understand those case studies as per subject matter. Since it is not a class to go into all these things, so I don't want to go in details of that. Just we wanted to keep it very simple and strategy, let's say, just to tell something before people write their tests. So then length of case studies if you take. Initially, if you take that in 2013, 14, so it was normal standard. It will be half of the copy, let's say, or less than half of the one page that you have. So it will be less than half or half of that. In 2016 or 17, it was even half of that. Means there is at least 1 year when they ask very small case studies. 4 lines, 5 lines, 4 lines, 5 lines. This. So imagine thereafter people develop a mindset that case studies are very small, they are asking. So when you ask a big case study, students register that, UPSC does not ask. The same person, 180 rank, Raghavendra told once. But now you know what case studies are. So we can say the first 5 years of that, 4 years of case studies, they try to give you minimal information in the case study. And they try to keep the length of case study very standard, we can say that. Now they are giving since last 2 years, 2020-21, maximum information in case study. And that maximum information is of no any relevance, let's say that. Basically what they are trying to do, they are trying to bombard your mind with set of information in case study, so that you are confused. Like say last year first case study. Right. Last year first case study if you see. I guess you may have experienced it. Let me show that. Now, I guess this is ethics paper. Yes. COVID also they have asked, which was expected. Yes, this case study. entire content of this case study can be reduced to just one paragraph. But they have made it like then. What is that case study? You are a very good civil servant. You have been invited by your senior on a special project. Here you find that there are mining activities and illegal mining. You take actions against them. They threaten your life, including your family members. What you will do? This is what the question. Subject matter is not new. You know that this is a very normal case study. Right. And mining, Khanan, Mafia, you know that. Already you are aware about that. Mining activities, illegal, etc., etc. So all sort of things, let's say, already known. Subject matter is not new. But if a person, let's say, is not pre-decided, a mindset a person has not made. So he will try to, let's say, at least there will be time that he will try to read to find any relevant information. But if a person knows that this length of case study they are giving simply to take time, rather than that they would have information. Last year we showed one urban related commissioner. Right. Last year case study 2020, that case study related to municipal commissioner. And municipal commissioner, every information they have given in that. Right. You are new municipal commissioner, outgoing municipal commissioner, then there is nexus, corruption, projects, delay in project, and blah blah things, and you are threatened. And that last year in threat there was gender perspective. Right. There can be allegation against you, and this case study. Right. If you see, let's say that last year, this year, so this year also they have asked. Good, means very lengthy case studies. They want to give you all sundry information in that. First 4 years they had that they would give bare minimum information. But now they are trying to give all that, let's say, small bits of that information. And then if you are not careful, so you will get unnecessarily indulged in those type of information. And that will affect your approach. And then what they are saying, identify different options available you. What they are taking, Sunil, पहले नाम नहीं लेते थे, पहले लिखेंगे Mr. A. Right. But now they are writing name also, right? So this attending the situation. So basically entire this such a long statement, it simply means what are the options available with you. Right. And then it says critically evaluate each options listed by you. Right. This. Then which of above do you think would be the most appropriate, right, and adopt and why? Right. That is what 2013, if you read 10th question, it would be more or less same instruction. Right. So one thing we will basically tell that it's a full circle we find, that the trends will be repeating in nature. Means let's say that if you are carefully analyzing 2013 to 2021 case studies in terms of instructions, in terms of subject matter they have asked, so you can benefit a lot. Right. You can plan your, let's say, case studies, you can benefit by that way. This is what we'll say one aspect. Then this length subject matter. Since in this class I have not planned to teach the way I used to, right, just I kept it. In fact, we were not supposed to invite anyone. Right. Just I want to tell few things so that people can learn before writing test. But since you have come, people have joined, so I'm trying to elaborate it a bit. Right? But the question is that when we deal in, maybe when we take basically in case study, the first class video you make it free. So there I tell details of the case studies, last 2013 to 2021. And the different pattern instructions, this and that. So that way you can watch if you want to know further on case studies. Right. When we'll take, let's say that this aspect called how to write, so there I can tell some other aspects. But as far as subject matter are concerned, if you see that they ask questions related to teacher also, they ask questions related to civil society, doctor also. So they have asked all those variety of questions. So when they ask those variety of questions are subject matter, so basically your approach should be also according to that. Rather than that in every case study you adopt one approach that is called civil service approach. Right. You have to write as per the subject matter. This. So that approach you should follow when you take about case studies. Yes, since we are going trend analysis, so let me tell that what are the instructions, let's say broadly they have asked so far. So one now major aspect remains that instruction, they will have options. So this time they have options. If I predict 2022, so now they would write options also. Right. If you go by the pattern, right. So they would write the 4 options also and they will tell you to evaluate. That is how it was also 2013 one's question. Right. So that way you can say. Another question, nowadays you should know that each question, even if they have repeated, but each question has slightly different instruction. Right. Each question has slightly different instruction, which people do not care, although let's say that that case study also has, let's say that it is slightly different. Discuss the ethical issues involved and then let's say critically examine the option available. With what option will you adopt and why? This. Now you should know in 2020 what they did. In all 6 case study, one instruction was write ethical issues. What people started doing, let me tell. The people started writing now in all case study ethical issues even if it is not asked. Because in 2020 every question they ask ethical issue. Right. So that can be, let's say that a problem. Right. Similarly, if you see in this such a big case study, all the 4 options if you see that, so they will be different from that. Like under given condition, what are the options available? To you as a project manager, only options you have to write. Then ethical dilemma you have to write. Then what are the professional challenges you have to write. And consequence of overlooking observation raised by inspecting team. This. So options you have to write, you don't have to do anything. No. Because the question is asking only options. Whether people will stop themselves by writing only option. Anyhow, now it is, similar to 2013, 14, 15 question. In 2015, one instruction was asked, what are the options available with you? Analyze each options. Every option that you take would have consequence. Consequence on you. What would be the consequence and what would be your strategy against those consequences? That was instruction. And what they have recorded? Consequence, not in exact fashion. This. So, that way you can say. More importantly, they are writing 4 options. 4 questions, let's say, in one case study. So that, and then you can see this. It is different type of question, let's say. Your criteria justification, putting clinical, non-clinical, this pattern. And if yours is a private hospital, whether your justification decision would remain same. It is a different type of instruction. Again, let's say that in this, then again they have given different types of, and then what course of action is available with food and to resolve the crisis and bring this Examine ethical dilemma. Right. Upside down question. Right. This. So ethical dilemma you have to write towards end. This options, it is course of action, not option. This. So basically what we can say that you should be sensitive, that we teach every year. You should be sensitive to the instructions that they ask. Because each and every instruction, they try to bring slight variation in that. Right? And if we do not notice, so even if you, let's say that you have understood these things, but you may not be able to answer that. This is one. Then, the question, yes, it will be shared. Someone is asking. We'll share it, we'll make it public, you can watch it. The question is that, yes, some other instructions which they have asked, so you should know that is called course of action, that type of instruction. Then in case of course of action, you have to write step by step. The difference between options available and course of action is that in course of action, you have to write step by step your stance. And in options, you have to write discrete options. That is how you will find the difference. Then they have asked also discuss your response. The response is also nothing but a course of action. This you should understand. But this is how the categories, let's say that, the categories of options that they ask. In course of action, we generally say that you write your justification after completing course of action. Because step by step when you write, so it would be very challenging to justify each step since steps are interlinked, one after another. It's better to justify towards end. This we can consider. So these are some major, aspect that way. That is how we can say how to write ethical answer and theory and case studies. See, nowadays people say IBC, right? So, introduction, body, and conclusion. Okay. Since it is a short answer that you have to write, especially in theory 150 words, so some questions you can start by writing meaning. If they ask about meaning of any such thing, defining, meaning, that is how directly you can start. Or if it is open-ended statement, so you can give any general introduction. Okay. A general introduction. This, like say ki last year the first question ki what are the 5 values related to civil service. So it is not open-ended question, it is very specific. So simply you can start civil service, 5 civil service values are as follows. This, isn't it? But suppose there is a question called like accountability, suppose I write this we say as open-ended question, generic question. Now when you get a generic question, so you can start with any generic introduction. Right. Or if you struggle to start with generic introduction, like what is generic? So accountability is considered an important aspect of evaluation of the government, that its action can be evaluated and its responsibility can be understood. Or let's say that accountability can also be seen from qualitative perspective or performance of the government. Hence, to some extent, it can be considered accountable government as responsible government. Means you can restate the same thing, that is called generic aspect. Like essay is open-ended. So when essay is open-ended, so you do not define in first paragraph. You write another, let's say that key statement, either you try to create an analogy on that, or you write any introduction. Similarly, when open-ended question you get, so you should write that kind of introduction. Or you can write any quotation someone's if you want to write. You can start with any quotation. Let's say RTI, we say that. Suppose another question I ask related open-ended, so RTI marks the beginning of era of light and ends the era of darkness. Comment. So it is another open-ended question. You can write that RTI is considered as one of the important development to promote transparency and uphold government accountability. Any generic introduction you can write. Why we are saying? If you are clear to write introduction, then you will not be reluctant and hesitant. You save your time and you will write better answers. If you are not clear that what I should write in introduction, so then it will take time and you will not start like anything, let's say that. So you should make yourself clear that what you have to write in introduction, in which type of statement. Let's say statement type, so already it is planned that you can write a bit of about philosophy. And there are some questions where they will ask this type. You can start with meaning. So there can be at least 6-7 questions which can be open-ended question. In that only you have to write an open-ended introduction. So that can be related to introduction when you write. As far as body is concerned, when you write any question, so it should be as per instruction. Whatever the instruction they have given, you should prove that instruction. And here, let's say that you should write, what you can say, precise, meaning, concept, plus example, plus philosophy. Plus philosophy. This. You should know that in ethics generally we say, ethics answer is nothing but theory plus example plus philosophy. Yes. Now, what people do? People write less theory, more example. People write more theory, no example. People write theory and philosophy, no example. Or example and philosophy, no theory. If those who are conceptually weak, they will not deal theory properly. This will tell you. So, there are several questions that they are asked. So, those who are, let's say, conceptually weak, they would not be able to do justice. Right? The theory is weak no matter how better example you write. Examples you should not write more than 2 and 3. People keep writing 4, 5, only examples. Balance, you have to maintain coherence between 3. Right? Coherence, let's say that, bread and butter coherence, you should know that. It's नहीं है कि bread एक है और इतना butter दे दिया आपने. Right. So what will happen? Right. So that you have to understand this balance of, let's say, that anything, and that is what you should try to learn from that. Conclusion, let's say, basically is conclusion. You write any conclusion necessarily. Here you try to refer any philosophy. Right. In ethics paper, writing conclusion is important. If it may not be important in any other paper, but in ethics paper it is important. So, ethics is about human conduct, and human conduct is about taking a stand about human conduct, whether it is good or bad or what. Right. So, conclusion gives you opportunity to close the answer, make it complete. Conclusion gives you opportunity to show your writing skill, show your knowledge, and say something else also. Right. This. And refer philosophy if you have not referred any such philosophy. Right. If you can start with also philosophy, you can end with also philosophy. This way it can be. But it should not look like something watertight and something ready-made. It should be more natural. Otherwise, entire answers, means all answers will start giving picture he has planned like that. It is a very deliberate plan that you are writing. Ethics paper is different, you know that. It is about critical thinking, not about all these ready-made types of answers. And that is what we can tell this aspect. I will tell one question and then on that basis I will try to answer. So let's take this last year question that they have taken. Right. So last year question is, this is identify 5 ethical traits on which one can plot the performance of a civil servant. Justify their inclusion in the matrix. Right. Now, see this question. Identify 10 essential values that are needed to an effective public servant. Describe the ways and means to prevent non-ethical behavior in public servant. See, both are two different questions. Now let's say that the challenge for a candidate is, suppose he writes 5 values. So will he write here something different? This. So that is how you can see this. Then let's say that this matrix they are saying, right? Inclusion in the matrix. What does it mean? Does it mean anything? मैट्रिक्स में 5 ही पॉइंट होते हैं, isn't it? Matrix, you have to draw a matrix basically. So I don't think that most of the people have done it. Is it like that? They may not have done it. Right. You can start with anything. Since it is related to performance, we can start with efficiency. Right. Selflessness. Then leadership. Then compassion. Accountability. We teach when we teach and we tell also that you should always write values which are not overlapping in nature. So I guess some people have learned that, some people may not. They may end up writing two values of same nature. This. Basically, it is a question which is asking that can we plot development? Let's see this is can plot the performance. Right. Plot means we can force a person by those values that he becomes performance oriented. Right. This and those ethical traits. What are those ethical traits for a civil servant? So it is a question. Such questions do not demand, let's say, difficult structuring. Simply, you can write introduction. An introduction you can write that is the 5 ethical values and matrix are as follows. Because they have used a matrix term, उसका कोई मतलब नहीं. उसका इतना ही मतलब है कि कोई उसको केयर करता है कि नहीं. Whether a student cares it or not. Right. This. And you can draw it, then you can go and one by one explain it. Because they are saying that see, it says that justify their inclusion in the matrix. This. So how we can justify that? So basically what you should do, you can write, let's say that key, values, right, explanation and justification. This. And you explain those 5, efficiency, whatever, this way. So the answer can be in tabular form. Now, what people will do, let me tell, they will not write in that way, they will write like this. पहले efficiency, फिर justification, फिर selflessness, फिर जस्टिफिकेशन, फिर लीडरशिप, जस्टिफिकेशन. एग्जामिनर घूम जाएगा उसमें, बिल्कुल उसको समझ में नहीं आएगा. Right. Means this will not give you straight away understanding, but this plotting, this gives the straight away understanding, right, of the meaning and justification why. So structuring of your answer is also very important. And never follow this kind of things again and again if you have to write more than 2-3 times. Right? Because it is layered. When it is layered, so for examiner, bringing that in mind will take time. Right? But presentation matters. Right? Presentation also matters. So that is how you should deal with this. The justification you have to give to that. And then towards end you can, let's say that, conclude. After writing this, you can conclude. This. Now what you should conclude? Right. So you know that 5 values are important, but there are also other values. No. It is for the sake of question 5 values. But Nolan committee has given 7 principles. ARC second has given 14 principles. इसलिए कि हम बड़े country हैं. If you see Nolan committee, the Nolan committee has given 7 principles, and ARC second has copied Nolan committee. It has given, I will tell you, 14 principles. Right. Because in one principle they have made 4 values. Right, the 4 multiplied by 4, 16. So I guess by the time people know it, people understand also, people know that, those who go and write mains, by the time they know all these things. So your conclusion should have been that this, even if 5 values are important to plot for performance, but at the same time civil service role is very challenging and they face different situations, and because of that complex situations there can be other such values depending on situation relevant, like even Nolan committee recommended 7 principles of ethics, and ARC second has also recommended a new civil service code, and that way you can end it. So basically the question means when you are concluding, it gives you always opportunity to write something which you can add value in your answer. This. Right. Philosophy and theory. Someone is asking difference between philosophy and theory. This. Theory is a philosophy. Philosophy is a theory. Right. Difficult to tell, this is not a class for that. Right. Philosophy can be an approach, right, a perspective, but theory is a phenomenon. Right. When we explain any phenomenon in a streamlined fashion, right, so that is done by a theory. The theory explains a particular phenomenon which we can prove it again and again also in objective fashion. Like a theory can explain a decision making phenomenon. Theory can explain, let's say, law of, let's say that gravitation. The theory is that. The theory basically describes a particular phenomenon or process. But philosophy is an approach, a perspective. So a theory can also be philosophy, like say that Kantian theory, we say that. Right. But all philosophies are not theory. This way. So that way you should understand, it is not a class to talk all these things. That is how, let's say that theory means you should write any such answer. Means in theory section, your approach should be that you should write any introduction, then you should write the concept that they are asking. Like in this it is not clear, the concept, let me tell you that another question, that way you can understand. In this also, both questions are different. When both statements are different, so it is not open-ended. Challenge can be an open-ended question. Digital impact of digital technology, that is how we were talking, artificial intelligence as a reliable source of input for rational decision making is a debatable issue. Critically evaluate with suitable example. Now this can be considered as a question, let's say. So how we can, let's write on this. That demand to write any introduction. Right. Then you have to write and conclusion. Now introduction. So when you write introduction, so what you will write introduction? It is different from first two questions. It is an open-ended type. So you have to write any general statement. So you should start that technology has given basis for objective decision making that has improved rationality in decision making. Right. Or the digital technology. The digital technology has given information, facts, and that information and facts, they have improved rationality in decision making. Digital technology has resulted into availability of more and more information and facts, data, through which human is able to make rational decision. It is restatement. Now you have to start with digital technology. So body part will start with basics. Right. This. So when such question you face, you have to write about digital technology. So first you should write about digital technology. And don't waste much time on that. The digital technology is led by information and communication technology, which present society has experienced fourth industrial revolution. Through that digital technology, we can store vast amount of data. It can be through artificial intelligence, cloud computing, Internet of the Things, big data analysis. Right. Or we have availability of social media on which you have huge information, in also research, analysis and reports. That's all. Now, after writing this, you have to write how it is input in rational decision making. Now you have to, let's say, digital technology, you have to link with rational decision making. Right. So, and it is not talking in of a particular decision making. It is in general, it is, you know that. It is again open-ended. Decision making in which field? Decision making for what? Whether it is government, administration, private, what? So you have to also write in that fashion. So since decision making, people take decision, human makes decision on the basis of information available. Right. And if human has more and more information available, data, facts available, the human would be able to make decision rational. Or a decision is rational when it is made on available information and facts, because it will bring objectivity. And since today, let's say that you can give now any such example. Suppose a person wants to opt for any career. So for career related, lots of information we have available. Now a person wants to make decision related to health. The health related, lots of information we have. Like you get, let's say, particular COVID hua hai ki nahi, Google kar lo. Right. Or suppose you have any problem, any such problem you have, like the sugar has increased, lots of information on Google, what to eat, what not to eat. Right. So this is what basic example you can give. Or let's say government related decision making. Big the government related तो और भी आसान है लिखना. Big data analysis, Internet of the Thing, evidence based policy making, right. Rational decision making. So that is what, again you don't have to waste lots of time on that, because this is not the main demand of the question. Main demand ये है कि debatable issue. Means the data is not reliable. You have to also not focus much on this. The most important focus will be on this aspect. Reliability. So whether data, whatever data available are reliable, so you know the other side. Right. So even if data and reports, information available, but we know that also there are fake data, fake videos, fake news. So veracity of that data, even there is propaganda, right? So propaganda, manipulation. So we can see various types of false accounts also, the fabricated accounts also. So that aspect we have to write that. Therefore, let's say that this technology reliable source of input. So we can benefit from digital technology, but at the same time you have to be also cautious about the source that we are following, the information that we are following, whether it is reliable. Like if someone is taking, let's say, career option, health related, or let's say that any other news related, incident related, and person wants to take decision, so the person needs to also cross verify. Because internet or social media, it has also been criticized that there is manipulation and fabricated data. In fact, it has given rise to more and more fake news, and let's say that it is very difficult to establish veracity of that data. Right. So now you have to critically evaluate with suitable example. तो अब क्या एग्जाम्पल देंगे? Suitable example. Do you have any example?
Data issue between WHO and Government of India.
Yes.
Deepfake.
Yes. Facial recognition technology. So you can give good examples. Let's say example related to COVID death. So what is the right data? Right, or what exactly the number of people died. So let's say government gives different data. On social media we have different data available. Right, and that WHO, let's say also it starts, means government questions the WHO report and data. In fact, government did not want that WHO should bring that report. So you should bring some of the good examples related to that where we have conflicts, right, or where the reliability has been questioned. That is the example that we have to give. Thereafter, you have to write conclusion or way forward. You have to write conclusion or way forward. So what we should write? नोलन कमेटी कैन बी रेफर्ड, यस, धड़ल्ले से रेफर किया जा सकता है, राइट, मतलब समवन इज आस्किंग नोलन कमेटी हैज गिवन रिपोर्ट ऑन प्रॉपर्टी इन गवर्नेंस, द नाम ही उसका है प्रॉपर्टी इन गवर्नेंस, द टॉपिक है प्रॉपर्टी इन गवर्नेंस, राइट, यस, व्हाट कंक्लूजन वी कैन राइट? We should write conclusion that even if internet means digital technology, right, may not work as reliable source of input, still as far as rationality in decision making is concerned, it has tremendously improved. And today in any walk of life, digital technology has helped people improve their decision making, be it a private life, family life, societal life, or government. Right. That people have availability of, let's say someone wants to know about admission of child in any such school, number of schools. The number of schools are available, the person can explore. Not in all area or walk of life of people there are rumors and fake data. Largely in those areas which are politically motivated, there you can find more, let's say that fake and other type of data. But in other walk of life, you can have more genuine availability of data. Right. And to some extent we can agree, large extent it has enhanced the rationality in any walk of life. Right. And another good example is that COVID time. In COVID time itself, lots of research and studies were conducted. Initially we did not know anything about COVID, but you know that different countries, independent organizations, they did lots of research on that. And they started predicting, and those predictability became basis for the government to further plan their lockdown. Right. And that is how you should end it. So this is what, let's say that a question we can answer. Suppose it is difficult than first two questions in terms of structuring and in terms of taking stand and in terms of giving example. That is how you should try to learn from. Let's take next. So, theory section, case study I can tell a bit what you should do. Although not enough, because each case studies can have separate strategy. See, nowadays, since they ask different instructions, so although we teach different strategy as introduction, like subject matter, ethical premises, and prioritizing those, let's say, values, etc. So, but since nowadays each question has a different instruction, it's better to write a general statement about the case study given. Like say the first case study that we find, so that the 2021, you can simply tell on that first case study, that means what you should have written general statement as introduction, that it can be that given this, the given incidents or given scenario shows that how there is rampant corruption, and how, let's say, that if any civil servant acts against corruption, so there is lots of pressure on that civil servant, and it has been found also that in past civil servants have sacrificed their life. It shows also that honesty has a cost, or it shows that it is difficult to tackle corruption, because those who are, let's say, involved in corruption, they seem to be very powerful due to nexus. However, still a civil servant should not be deterred by that. There should be courage of conviction to face such challenges. So there can be, let's say, that a general statement you can write, and that way you can introduce. Do not try to write direct unless question has given ethical dilemma or ethical issue first. Unless option A is ethical dilemma or ethical issue, you can write that general statement. If first means A option is about ethical dilemma, ethical issue, directly write it. Because it makes also a sort of introduction. So that can be the strategy. As far as body is concerned, it depends on the instructions. Now, as far as way forward is concerned, what you should write? So in way forward also, let's say you can write whatever the statement, plus try to link with philosophy. Now when case study is related to civil services, very less scope for linking with philosophy. But then there are scopes to add different things in that. It can be linked to ARC's second ethics in governance, it can be civil service code, it can be Nolan committee, it can be a good example of any past civil servant, that any civil servant who may have tackled corruption, shown leadership, that example you can give. So that way you can link in case of civil services. But if it is related to any teaching field, so teaching related values you can add. If it is related to medical fields, you can relate it to medical sector values, and medical ethics you can add, that kind of things. And if it is related to corporate sector, corporate ethics, corporate governance you can add. So different subject matters give you opportunity to write different types of values. Not necessarily that we are always bound by writing Kant and Bentham and let's say that Mill. So they may not be relevant in particular situation. And that is how, let's say, that you should try to follow while writing. And word limits, it depends on your speed, 250 words. If you have a speed problem, write 230 words, 40 words, less than that. That can be the strategy. Strategy should also be that at least you should plan 3 case studies, write properly. 2 case study if you are struggling with speed, so you can write fatafat type, like means you can write. Don't try to write all the 6 case study with the same approach. If you struggle with speed, at least do justice with 3, and let's say that write 2 next 2 with less words. It's not that all the 6 case study you write with less words. So less words, so that way you will end up securing less marks, because inadequacy will be felt in all 6 case studies. So that approach you should not follow. Rather you should complete 3 with full, let's say that whatever the number of words. 2 case study you can compromise if you struggle with time and let's say words and other things. So that we can consider. Then we have told that what do's and don'ts, generally we see this. Those is write basic examples. Let me tell that what happens. See, critical thinking means avoid ready-made political examples. It is very difficult to tell what to not to do, what to do. Let me tell that. It can be done more largely through answers. When answers are written, discussions are held, then we may become more specific. Here we can be very generic. Generic in the sense, I will give a simple example that many times questions demand that you write an answer where you have to prove that how one can learn to take responsibility. Example is that in our house, when glass is broken, nobody wants to take responsibility. We do not say in simple terms that I have broken the glass. Rather we say that so we say all else except one thing. I have broken the glass. So child also learn in that way. The child basically also grow in that environment. When you teach a child that you should accept you have broken, there is no any consequence. Right. Our glass is supposed to be broken at times. Right. This is yes, something is going to stop. Let's say switch will stop working after some time because wear and tear will happen. Right. Many things are in our house, the wear and tear also happen. Now wear and tear happen, you are the person, you switch and then it stop working. Right. So this is a very basic example to tell. We don't have to always look to big things. Let's say people start talking about war, history, right? Then let's say Hitler. मतलब पूरे साल में तो जरूर कुछ ऐसे लोग होते हैं हिटलर को ही ज़्यादा एग्जाम्पल लिखते हैं, राइट? This मतलब big things you don't have to always look to big things. Look inside your house, look inside yourself, look inside surrounding in your surroundings, and you can get better examples. Basic examples will always be more influencing than big examples. Let's say that which we have controversial examples. So we should avoid controversial examples. This you should know. Why I wrote Group Society International, although you can give example, but people know directly they reach to international level. Right. Example is near you, but you are going to international. This. So because ethics, you have to always think that ethics is about human conduct. Right. It is when it is about human conduct, so you have to start with human. This again, although question will tell that what it is, ethical perspective, legal perspective, people have overtone of writing legal answer rather than ethical answer. Since ethics you have not taught, you have not been taught in your 10+2 graduation. Ethics is started just learning in UPSC. So you know you have more influence of law rather than ethics. This. And then critical thinking, avoid ready-made answer. Means entire 13 question or then 6 question. कुछ तो critical thinking आना चाहिए ना. If not in all answers, but at least in some answer you show what you are. Right. Means you give your, let's say that reflection, your reflection in answer. So otherwise, basically you have prepared all ready-made things. So you are writing others. Where are you? Yours would be critical thinking. Yours would be the perspective. Right. And that is the most important aspect in your answer of this paper. That's why some people without reading much, they can do good. Because they have written their you. That is their thinking. Although it should be right perspective. Then, in case studies, don't side. Do not write I will. Yes. Like say Mr. Sunil. Mr. Sunil and they are saying you. I will tell to Sunil. Why you will tell to Sunil? Sunil will be told. This. The options are available as follows. Rather than I have following options available. This is what we put in. Right. Please don't write I will. Right. I will do like that or I will, let's say that. Make it indirect. Remove I in that. That is what you should follow. This is what we can tell for this. So now if you have any questions, we can ask them.
While writing ethical issues, can you write violation of constitutional provisions?
Like any example?
If there is any gender discrimination, you can write that there is a violation of Article 14 or 15.
No. As we told, legal. This you can say that it is gender discrimination. So without writing Article 14, you can write that it is violation of equality. Right. That even after, let's say, in Constitution, or you can say even after Universal Declaration of Human Rights, that will be more effective. Even we know that human is born free and equal, still we face situation that women do not get equal rights. Writing a particular article makes your answer very pointed toward polity rather than ethics. Right. This, because it is not test of that. No, this test of that. Even in polity also, we don't tell that you should write particular article, because it makes your answer more factual rather than qualitative. Right. Yes. Any other question?
Last year, two of the case studies had a private sector element, that company and that it was a private hospital. Should we write it because it's private? Should our approach be any different?
First thing is that they have not asked first time about private sector. Already in past 2 times they have asked about private sector. Once related to one company in which people get crashed, a leader get crashed and wanted to have some political members on the payroll of the company. Read that case study. Right. Another case study was asked related to a company in which an employee died and compensation to that company. That case study was based on Tata company. That year exactly same case study we had asked. So already let's say that they have asked in past at least 2 times. Now when they are asking about a private company, so in fact in 2020 also they have asked, not necessarily, but a person was running a company, then he has a link with politician, right? That kind of case study if you find. So what positive value you will tell about that company? That was something like, already they have asked like this. Basically, yes, your question is that, yes, we should try to refer, let's say, corporate governance, that kind of values, ethics in business. So a bit of different orientation when you relate with values, so that will change this. Right. How to manage question that I am unable to comprehend. Very difficult, no? When you are unable to comprehend, so whatever you comprehend, right? There is no other way out. Yes.
Does it mean that we shouldn't bring the GS knowledge at all to
No. Try to understand. Knowledge of first 3 papers is applied in ethics papers. The knowledge you can bring. Nuances you should not bring.
like for example, if there is a case study of child labor or something, so can we mention the Child Labor Act or all?
Yes, you can mention Child Labor Act, but not at first place.
Priority should be.
Yes, you can mention at second and third place, but not at first place. Child labor means कि we still find out कि a child is not able to properly grow in terms of social, emotional, intellectual. Right. That you have to write first. Rather than child labor, against child labor law, it is not a good practice. So child labor से क्या होगा? Child will not grow what? Every child has right to grow with social, emotional, conceptual, intellectual ability. So it will not allow child to grow. So when you focus on legal aspect, so you will not try to understand the ethical aspect. This, because you think that it is adequate enough. The ethical understanding will not come. Legal also we have to write, because law and ethics both are 2 sides of the same coin. But we have to give preference to ethics over law.
And also, there is a question like last time, food authority of India, food security authority of India, regarding safety precautions and all that. There is a case that even you were saying that. Like, what steps do you imagine that authority should take in order to prevent such violation of safety measures or something? So that is not what does it test? Such kind of question, what does it test?
It tests your decision making. Every case study is decision making in a particular situation. Now by some particular types of case studies, basically they want to know that when you face a less known aspect, because that area would be less known, so how you take a decision? Or whether you are aware about this range of topics. Right. And food safety has remained one such area, you should know that. Right, since Maggie issue, it has remained, right. They are testing your decision making. Now let's say safety standards. Now you will give more focus on law. Okay, we should have safety measures, we should have SOP, we should have compliance, we should have enforcement. This is how. If you focus on that aspect, again you are becoming legalistic. Why not to raise the let's say conscience of people, consciousness of people, right, against let's say that ki lack of those safety measures and the consequence on human life. Because if safety measures are lacking, it affects everyone. You and me both. The person who enforces and the person who is enforced against. Because food is consumed by everyone. This, basically you should focus on more building ethical standards. The organizations which are in food production, you have to work with them, influence them for adhering to ethical standards. Right. At the same time, you can take legal measures. But you know that people will go more towards legal measures. Right. This we can say that. So, any other question? Should we finish? Are you able to get something out of this? Yes.
सर आपने स्टार्टिंग में बहुत सारे सैम्पल टॉपिक्स बताए थे सिलेबस के कि इस साल उनसे एक्सपेक्टेड है या इनसे नहीं एक्सपेक्टेड है, तो उसमें से सर जो आपने बुक्स बताई थी, अगर कुछ टॉपिक्स ऐसे हैं जो वहाँ पे अवेलेबल नहीं है तो वो वाया टेस्ट सीरीज वाया क्वेश्चन हो जाएंगे ना कवर?
Yes, that would be covered, although I will not guarantee. We will also frame questions on expected line. This you should know that. So the tests will be, let's say that we will frame questions on expected lines. Plus you are getting model answers. Right. Plus I guess you get some 2 supplements from office also. Right. And you may be, I guess, reading the handwritten notes. Right. So I guess that way it can cover, I will say that, it will cover most of the things which we have told, especially the topics which I have mentioned in beginning, so that will be covered. Okay. So we'll cover these things when we'll ask. Let me tell that, since test, so I will tell that. The test that we have 7 tests, so it is designed in this fashion. Writing 7th is very challenging. Right. So we go in ascending order. Test 1 is simple. Right. The first 2 tests we keep basics, not linked to syllabus. So we try to formulate general questions which can test your understanding without understanding of the topics necessarily. Right. So this is how that way. Then the next, let's say 3, 4, it is based on syllabus. Then we try to make, let's say it's mock type. But we try to improve the standard. 7th one really is very difficult. It is deliberately done. This. Therefore for you, let's say that it is a challenge. You try to improve, but next is again challenging. Right. That way. And then there we try to cover all variety of topics which we expect they can be asked. It is in a way, let's say, huge. Let's say you have so many questions, variety of questions, plus you get model answers. In fact, it happens that technology related, artificial intelligence related, last year we asked 2 questions. Right. So it was very expected question. The only thing is that they change it. They change digital technology and decision making. This. So this is how it can help you, and model answers can work as a source for your preparation. This. So let's finish. No. All the best.
Welcome to Lukman IAS. Study General Studies with Lukman IAS for building comprehensive knowledge. GS paper 2 and 4 will be taken by S. Ansari and other papers will be covered by renowned faculties. Live classes are as effective as offline classes. The classes are highly interactive in nature. Your doubts and queries will be addressed and there will be dictation of notes. In the last 10 years, Lukman IAS has set up a niche in the field of UPSC guidance.